Up next on End of the Day Beer Review, we're going to be looking at My Shoe Gives It a Little Kick. This is a West Coast IPA by Lunchbox Brewing Company, and it's coming in at 6.4% ABV. Check it out. Hi everybody, it's Rich and welcome back to End of the Day Beer Review. Today we're looking at My Shoe Gives It a Little Kick. This is a West Coast IPA. Cool little piece of artwork there that reminds me of, and I'm assuming this is the reference to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. You know, the original with Gene Wilder, the real one, at least for me. So I was at Lunchbox Brewing Company just Friday, and I'm shooting this on a Sunday. Great little place in Belmore. I live on Long Island, and this is a reasonably close brewery to me. And you know, my friend Kevin, who was on the channel a couple of times, and I have been there. And we went Friday and we had some great stuff. I had some of that Bad Hombre that I had tried. I had another beer that they had there. I don't remember what it was, but it was also good. Tried a couple of their IPAs. And you know, very impressive brewery overall. And as I was leaving, I picked up a 4-pack. Now, I want to make it clear, okay? It's a local brewery and I support local businesses and stuff like that. But they did not give me the beer. I bought the beer. I bought the 4-pack of this particular one, and I have not tried it yet. So I'm sort of excited because everything I have tried from them has been really good. Now, this is 6.4% ABV. It was brewed and packaged on 10/9 of this year. And it says that it is brewed and packaged by Lunchbox Brewing Company in Belmore, New York. And they have a website, lunchboxbrewery.com. You know, so I like the little breweries, and it seems like the little breweries are the ones that sort of maximize my enjoyment of the styles of beer that I don't normally try. And I don't know exactly, and I know how ridiculous this sounds for Beer Channel is, I don't know what a West Coast IPA really is. And I'm sure I've reviewed them on the channel, but I figured let me give this a try. The ABV is 6.4, so it's not super high. It's not like a double IPA or a triple. But I tried one of their IPAs on tap, and it was excellent. So I figured, why not? And it reminded me a little bit of like sort of how I've had the IPA experience with Gusto Brewing Company, where like some of it has just been really, really good and really surprising and taking me outside of like my beer comfort zone, if you will. And I always pour these like crap. Now it's got a nice color to it. To me, that's the color of a Pilsner, so I don't know if that's indicative of a West Coast IPA color. Has a massive head because of my shitty pour, 4 fingers of a head. This is, however, a correct IPA glass. The nose here is sort of piney, sort of citrusy. There's a little bit of that grapefruit aroma that I'm not a huge fan of when it comes to the whole IPA style. But you know what? It smells really, really good as well. Very, very fruity, very citrusy, which I am coming to slowly appreciate that in the IPA world. Listen, down deep, if I had to drink a beer every day, it would be a stout over and over and over again. But as I sort of branch out into the other beer styles, you know, you come across some that are actually quite interesting. So little pineapple, little citrus. There's a hint of another type of tropical fruit. It might be like a mango-ish type of, I don't know. I don't want to say that. I'm just going to leave it as like I'm getting this sort of generic citrusiness to it. Let's give it a taste. That is a nice citrusy, not sweet, but so, okay. A general citrus flavor across the tongue. I think it's more like orange and lemon than it is pineapple, but there is that sort of like citrus medley there. There's also, when you exhale after you swallow it, a really interesting sort of like pininess. I don't know if you've ever smelled like fat wood, that stuff you use to start a fire, but that's very resinous with like pine resin and stuff like that. So I get that sort of almost resiny type of aroma to it. Now, what's really sort of cool about this is there is a bitterness on the back end, and I was very worried about that because that's what kills this genre of beer for me. But it was there and then it was gone. And what's left is this pleasant sort of citrusy, piney flavor in the back of the mouth. That is a very easy drinking, very enjoyable beer. Goes down nice and smooth. The bitterness is there, but it's much more the citrusiness, the citrus flavor, the pininess. You know, I gotta tell you, I think it's very good. Now, I think when I went there, and again, I had had a few drinks and we had been out and it was late, and I'm normally like a 10 o'clock sleep guy, so I could be off on this. But I feel like I spent about $25 to $27 on this 4-pack. So, I mean, would it be worth it again? Yeah, it would be. Especially knowing that I have people who come over who are not stout people and who like specifically look for IPAs. I could give them this IPA and I would not be worried that I had made some sort of like beer faux pas, if you will. It drinks nicely, it drinks easily. I'm not getting any burn from the hoppiness. I'm not getting any of that sort of like, how do I put it? I'm not getting any of the alcohol burn. There's no ethanol here. And you know, 6.4 is a higher ABV than, let's say, your average beer. And I use, you know, Budweiser as the average because that's 5% and that's probably the most, you know, consumed beer in the United States. Now, it's not the most consumed beer here at Tony's Bar. In fact, I've had on camera one and I found it unimpressive. But I have to say, going through this, you know, even at 6.4% ABV, sometimes you'll get a beer that gives you that little bit of a burn. There's none of that here. This is very nice. It is very drinkable. Would I think this was a dangerous beer? At 6.4%, I'd definitely be careful when drinking it. But, you know, like, I could see having 2 of these, 3 of these in the course of an evening if you're not driving. If you are, I'd probably have 1 and be done with it because, you know, like, once I get above 6 at all, that's when I start getting worried about the consumption of alcohol within the beer. Now, I like high ABV beers, but when I drink them, I just, you know, don't put myself in a situation where I could possibly, you know, do something stupid like drive or something like that. Now, you know, would I say this is dangerous? It's not dangerous, but it's something you want to be aware of. And if you want to enjoy a few of them, you know, Uber, what can I say? I can say I am not sponsored by Uber. This is very nice. So once again, Lunchbox Brewing Company has actually put together a really beautiful little beer. And I mean, this is not even my genre. In fact, you know, I want to point this out. In both cases, I've examined beers that are outside my really, really like love, which are the stouts. And in both cases, you know, the Bad Hombre was a really nice Mexican lager. This is a really nice West Coast IPA. I gotta give them so far the thumbs up. So like if you're on Long Island or you're near Belmore, it's a nice little place. You can bring food in. I mean, when I was there Friday, they have a food truck, but there was a wait, so I wound up walking down the block to this pizza place that was great. Came back, ate some pizza, drank some beer. It was a really, really nice night. You had people there with the kids, with their dogs, all that kind of stuff. So if that's the environment you want, and I want to make it clear, like, I'm not a big fan of like the whole brewery thing where you sit there and you eat and your kids run around and you play like giant Jenga and shit like that. But this was very low key. This was very mellow. And again, if you're a local, if you're on Long Island, definitely worth checking out. Anyway, folks, once again, this is My Shoe Gives It a Little Kick, a West Coast IPA by Lunchbox Brewing Company. I would recommend it if you are on the island, particularly. I don't think they do distribution outside of their brewery, but I'm not sure about that. So if you happen to be in Belmore, it's right on the main drag in Belmore. I think that's Bedford Avenue. Give it a check, and I think you will not be disappointed by it. Anyway, folks, I hope you've enjoyed the review, and if you have, hit that like button, subscribe. If there's another West Coast IPA I should try, or if you're somebody who's gone to, Lunchbox before, I'd love to hear some comments down below. And I will see you guys next time on End of the Day Beer Review. Cheers.